Happy Fantasy Friday. This is the Banter and Bookmarks podcast. We are Lindsey,
Kelly,
and Katharine, and we are three book besties diving into romantasy with unhinged theories and a bit of spice.
This is episode 2 of a 7-episode series covering Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Today we're covering chapters 1 through 11, and there will be spoilers. We will be finding clues, making connections, and theorizing all things to come in book 2, Rights of the Starling.
So pour yourself a drink. I have a special drink tonight. This is the Velvet Hammer Elixir of Inner Light, and it's delicious.
It's pretty and sparkly.
Isn't it nice?
Ooh.
Oh, I love
know.
that. I can't wait to drink mine.
Yep. So pour yourself a drink, maybe a Velvet Hammer drink. Come escape reality with us and let's talk about books. Let's start off by summarizing today's set of chapters, which is chapters 1 through 11. Katharine?
Chapter 1, Odessa, the princess of the kingdom of Quintus, is standing on the edge of a cliff, thinking about jumping. Today, her sister May is supposed to meet the crown prince of Tura, who is set to be her husband. Odessa fears she may be late, and she hears a rider approach. It is Banner, her fiancé, and he is the general in her father's army. He informs her that the mysterious man known as the Guardian is with the Turans, someone to whom Banner holds a grudge. Odessa informs him that she will meet him back at the castle, and he rides off. She races for the edge of the cliff and jumps off.
Chapter 2. Odessa sneaks into the castle, soaking wet from her cliff jump. She sneaks through a gallery that she knows no one else visits. Every piece in the gallery depicts the Crux, massive eagle-like monsters that slaughter people. She runs into a Voster priest, and his magic prickles through her body. He uses his magic to dry her hair, forming water droplets into a crown over her head. She runs from him and into her rooms where her stepmother Margot is waiting. Her stepmother changes her into a drab gray dress and gets to work on her tangled curls. She uses a powder in her hair to cover up Odessa's natural red color, dyeing it brown.
Chapter 3. Odessa enters the throne room and joins her father, stepmother, and sister. 5 Turan men are there, and Odessa's father thanks them for hunting marrow eels, monstrous creatures that are terrorizing the seas. The Guardian is among them, as is Xavier Wolfe, May's husband-to-be. The king pays them for their service, but they require more. They declare that they will not take May as their bride. Instead, they want Odessa.
Chapter 4, Odessa is shocked by the declaration. Banner speaks up and tries to claim Odessa as his, but clearly the Turans don't care. The king tries to argue that according to the Shield of Sparrows treaty, the king is allowed to choose the daughter he wishes to marry off. But the Turans enact the Chain of Sevens. They claim that since the prince killed 7 marrow eels, he can claim a prize of his choosing, and that he chooses Odessa as his bride.
Chapter 5. The high priest Voster has used his magic to freeze the room, showing off his magic, and declares that it is Odessa's fortune to be wed. The Turans leave the room, and the king dismisses everyone except the royal family. The king tells Odessa that she must marry Prince Xavier, and that she must act as a spy. The Turans' capital city of Alisaria has remained hidden, but the king needs something there. He says that it is their only chance at stopping the Crux. He says that her ladies' maids, Brielle and Jocelyn, will also accompany her, and she is to get information and send it back with one of them. He also commands her to kill the Guardian. The king dismisses them, telling her to go get ready for her wedding.
Chapter 6. Odessa is being primped by Margot for her wedding. Margot tries to give her the birds and the bees talk, but Odessa informs her that she is not a virgin. Margot leaves her, and Odessa pulls up a hidden floorboard in her room, taking out a necklace and a leather drawing book, and adds them to her packed possessions. May comes to warn Odessa about the dangers she is about to encounter. The king brings in a small glass vial and a knife and captures a few drops of Odessa's blood.
Chapter 7. Odessa and her family go into the sanctuary for the wedding. The Turans enter, and they are guided up the steps to a platform upon which the Shield of Sparrows document awaits. Odessa and Xavier read it together, make their vows, and sign it in blood. The Turans quickly exit, and the Guardian tells Odessa that they will sail at dawn.
Chapter 8. Odessa arrives at the docks and goes for a walk in the market. She decides to stop by to look at the slain marrow eels. The guardian is there and he escorts her back to the ship.
Chapter 9. Odessa's family comes to the docks to say goodbye, but missing is her baby brother, Athy. Odessa boards a ship with her ladies' maids, and they all wave goodbye. Alone on the deck later, Odessa is joined by Prince Xavier, and it is revealed that he can talk, he just prefers not to.
Chapter 10. Odessa, Brielle, and Jocelyn are sharing a room on the ship, and the two ladies' maids have been incredibly seasick. Someone breaks into Odessa's room while they are all sleeping and leaves a pile of clothes that include, clutch my pearls, pants. Yay! She goes up on deck and runs into the guardian, who tells her that he was the one that left the clothes for her. Then he leaps overboard. Everybody likes to jump off things in this book. And with inhuman-like speed, swims and boards the other ship next to them. Xavier joins her on deck, and they have a pleasant, if not awkward, conversation.
Chapter 11. Odessa is bored enough on the ship that she has tried on the pants and gasp. She likes them, though her ladies' maids absolutely do not approve. They go up to the deck to get some fresh air, and during another annoying conversation with the Guardian, the ship is attacked by marrow eels. Odessa topples overboard, and the Guardian yells at her to swim. Duh. She feels the marrow eel brush her leg underwater, and she panics. But the Guardian hurls a harpoon at her, and she grabs it so he can pull her in. She thanks him for saving her life and then stalks away. Mad.
Yep, Katharine's stalking.
Yeah.
More like squelch, 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 squelch.
Right. You cannot stalk away soaked like that in a... No.
Odessa did. She seemed like she had some attitude.
She did.
With her squelching there.
Thank you. Now, fuck off.
Now, fuck all the way off.
All right, so let's go back to chapter 1. Let's dive into these details here. So Odessa is 23 years old, and she is the princess of Quintus, or as she describes, the wrong princess. So she's clearly got some familial feelings going here about her sister, right?
Yes.
The castle sits in the capital city of Roslo, and so she is standing on a cliff. And we're already going to jump into the foreshadowing here to the end of the book, because on a reread, reading this chapter over again, it is amazing how much foreshadowing is in this with all of the imagery of birds, right? So there's birds in this chapter, flying in this chapter. Obviously, at the end of the book, a crux is attacked, and when it dies, it transforms into the body of this red-headed woman. So the connections here with Odessa and the crux is undeniable. However we theorize their connection is, there's a connection between all of these.
And I like, Lindsey, that you pointed out in the very first one what crux means if you translate it.
Yeah, crux means cross in Latin. And what is her last name? Odessa Cross, which is interesting, though, because technically Cross would be her father's name. And so if her mother is a crux, why is her father's last name Cross?
Ooh, good detail. That's interesting.
So a few quotes in the chapter include, "I'll either fall or fly." And when she jumps, she says, "One moment my feet were tethered to the earth, the next I was flying." So tons of foreshadowing in that chapter.
I honestly would be all right if Odessa just flies in the next book. If she actually just takes off and flies like a bird, I would be okay with that transformation.
Yep.
Well, there is an important meeting today. Her sister May will meet the crown prince of Tura, whom she's to marry, and Odessa fears that she might be late to the meeting on account of she's a little bit wet right now. May is the sparrow, so her marriage will fulfill this accord that happens between all 5 kingdoms of Calandra, basically this treaty that keeps everybody at peace. And it's called the Shield of Sparrows. And she hears this rider approaching, and it's her fiance, Banner. There's no love here. He is a general in the king's army, and their marriage is entirely political. And I think even at this point, if it's not in this chapter, it's in the first early chapters. Like she knows he keeps a woman in town.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's a mistress. Like
Yep.
there is no love for this relationship at all. But Banner is still the fiance. He informs her that with the Turin Rangers comes a man known as the Guardian.
Well, Banner has a huge vendetta against the Guardian because he is the one who killed Banner's brother. They had actually fought over a woman in Tura, and the fight ended in the brother's death. So that is something that's going to come back at the end of the book when Banner also returns. Banner's mother was so distraught by the brother being killed that she killed herself. So all of this is very much something that Banner blames on the Guardian. And we find out, like I said later, that there is a lot more to this story, but it boils down to the fact that Banner is very, very angry about all of these things.
Yeah. And Odessa really longs for adventure. She says that May is her father's favored daughter and her stepmother Margot's pride and joy. So again, really feeling that family, she's the wrong princess, right? But despite that, Odessa has never felt jealous of May. She says, though, that she feels jealous of her now in this moment because May is going to be able to travel and discover new places, and she really wants that out of life. So what does she do to free herself? She jumps. And to be clear, she is cliff diving and has been doing it since she was 16.
Yes.
Nope, that's actually the end of the story. She's dead.
There you go. The end.
Chapter 1, the end.
She's
Everybody,
not dead.
see you next time on our next deep dive series, Fury Bound.
Well, she's not dead. She sneaks back into the castle, very much wet, and uses a gallery that she knows nobody ever visits, especially her stepmother, Margot. And as I said, she is soaking wet from this cliff dive. We get a quote kind of describing what's shown in this gallery. Every piece depicted the crux from generations past. The largest mural had been crafted after their last migration nearly 30 years ago, when massive eagle-like monsters had flown all over Calandra and slaughtered our people. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
She makes note of one particular painting. It depicts a male crux with auburn hair. Lindsey mentioned the foreshadowing. How very interesting. Remember that Odessa is naturally a redhead. It's her stepmother, Margot, who's been dyeing her hair brown over the years to cover it up. And I don't know about you guys. At first glance, it seems like she just dyes the hair because it reminds her of Odessa's real mother. But now with all of this foreshadowing, I have to wonder if there was another reason to dye her hair, particularly since all or maybe all of the Crux have red hair too. And maybe Margot knows something.
Yeah. I also think it's really interesting you just said, Kath, that especially her stepmother Margot avoids that gallery in the castle. And so that made my spidey senses go off of like, why is Margot specifically avoiding the area with the crux? And I think I have some theories maybe later in our coverage, but just want to point that piece out.
Yeah, I think a lot about Margot's intentions because Margot was Odessa's mother's lady maid, right? The first queen.
Yep.
And so I have a lot of questions of, were they friendly with each other? And Margot is doing this to protect Odessa? Or did they not like each other? Right. And now she's, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot about her, like she's dressing her in gray. She's casting her aside.
Right.
Yeah, she comes across as cold, but is it not cold? Is it a disguise to protect Odessa? Right. And then you have to wonder, is this just something that Margot knows? Does the king know as well? Because, I mean, as you said, Lindsey, it was her lady's maid. Could there have been some secrets that Odessa's mother only shared with Margot? And maybe that's why Margot married the king. It wasn't ultimately to be a queen herself, but maybe to protect Odessa.
I have to think the king knew. If her mother is a crux, I would have to think the king knew it.
Yeah.
I would hope so, given his paint. He's got a painting in
Right.
his own gallery with a male crux with auburn hair. It
Yeah.
feels like this kingdom must know something, or they're
Yeah.
just
Well-
not paying attention to their histories.
And the Guardian later tells Odessa that basically all of the kings know pretty much everything that's going on and they're not really doing anything about
Right.
it. So
Right.
this is another one of those things that I feel like he has to know and he's just not acting on it.
Well, Odessa notes for us that the next crux migration is going to be upon them soon. I get the impression that it's kind of fall-ish time and they are expecting the crux migration in the spring.
Yeah, I think they say it's about 6 months.
Time's a wasted.
Yeah, they're coming. Well, Odessa runs into my least favorite character in the book.
Really?
Yes, the Voster priest. So freaking creepy. So creepy. Are you not creeped out by the Voster priest? I'm so creeped out by them.
Intrigued more than creeped because there's so much mystery around them. I want to know more. So I'm reserving my creeping until I know more.
I immediately got the ick from the Voster priest. We'll talk about later because obviously the Guardian trusts the Voster at the end, but I'm creeped out by them. So she runs into this Voster priest. It's her father's emissary, Brother Dime. And I do really think it's odd that the description of the Voster priest is very, very bird-like. Talons,
Interesting.
beak. They use a lot of that kind of language to describe them. She even says that he, quote, cocked his head sideways like a bird. We're creepily doing that. If you're watching us, if you're not watching us, you want to come back because it's very cute.
Not like a cute puppy, but like a weird bird. Because this could be cute puppy or it could be weird bird. So we're definitely doing weird bird. Yeah.
Weird bird.
Like the rescuers down under. The eagle that like turns its head all the way under.
I can't do that. Actually, Kath definitely can't do that right now.
No, I hurt my neck. If I do that, it's just going to break itself off.
And all right, well, magic also radiates off of him and it is nauseating to her, but only to her, which is a very interesting thing to keep track of. So they're creepy to me, but they're bird-like and the Guardian trusts them. And also the magic only impacts Odessa in this way. Okay, pins. We're putting a lot of pins in things.
Also, somebody named him Dime. What a weird name.
Last
of
name,
all
probably.
of the names.
Yeah, probably
Dime.
last name. I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, that's a fair assumption. I just thought his
Okay,
name
I guess that's fine.
was Dime.
First name Dime.
Dime
last
bag.
name Peace.
D-boy.
Quote, humans weren't meant to be this close to magic. He uses his magic to draw all of the water out of her wet hair, which I absolutely love this bit of magic. Anytime this comes up in any fantasy book, I'm like, I want that. And with the water droplets, he creates a crown over her head. She says, quote, Father said the Voster Brotherhood often use their fluid magic to deliver a message, that they manipulated air, water, and blood to make statements. I wonder if he's making a statement there, Odessa. Getting that
dry your hair.
water crown. And no one knows.
That's really interesting you said that, Kelly. Because they make a lot of crowns with that fluid magic. And I didn't remember that it was in the shape of a crown here. So that's really interesting.
I think he knows exactly what's about to happen. He knows the high Voster priest, the Voster are from Alisaria. He works with the Guardian. I think he knows exactly what the Guardian is about to do, is about to make her queen, and this is his message to her.
Well, no one knows where the Voster live, and Odessa doesn't know how many of them there are in the Brotherhood. She also doesn't know where their magic comes from. Quote, if the priests were humans who'd inherited their magic, or if they were something else entirely. So, no clue. Who are they? What are they? Nobody knows.
I don't know.
I'm icked, but I'm intrigued. Yeah.
Well, you would run from him just like Odessa runs from him.
Sure would. Yeah.
And she finds her stepmother, Margot, is waiting for her in her room. I don't know why this detail is important, but I want to point it out. Okay. Odessa's ladies' maids are busy cleaning up after the Turin Rangers who have tracked filth into the castle halls. Odessa notes that they have been staying on a ship, so she doesn't understand where the filth came from. I have to wonder if they were like up to something in Quintus. Like, why would she point that out? Why was that detail? And we never hear about it again. Oh, I don't know.
That's very interesting.
I got spider tinglies from that
Mm.
one for sure.
Okay.
Non-magical ones.
Yes. Margot grabs Odessa a drab gray dress, and it's the color she usually dresses in for whatever reason. And she also needs to re-dye her hair. So she uses a powder hair dye with a pungent odor and dyes Odessa's red hair into brown. So again, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Why is she dyeing her hair? Why is she dressing her in these drab colors? Is she trying to protect her potentially? I kind of lean towards that personally.
It's a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so on the fence. I would like it for it to be that she is protecting her and trying to make her fly under the radar and not have anyone realize who she is, because I think you're right, Catherine. I think it's more interesting, but man, like she's cold and she's really hard to read. And so I think it's well done, because I would buy it either way. Like either thing that comes out about what her intentions are, I would buy it, because I can't. I am so split on Margot.
It's good storytelling.
Yes, it is.
Because also why, even if you want to dye her hair, even if you want her to dress in gray, there's a certain level of cruelty, you know? And so it's like, why is that necessary?
Right.
In this
Is
whole
that
charade?
part of the protection? Like she's trying to be like, this is how I keep her safe. I'm cruel to her. I don't let her get to know me. Because I care so much about her mother. Like, is it a protection thing for even Margot, right? But I don't know. Is she just actually a bitch? Because there are like nice bitches, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to do something nice for you, but I'm still going to be a bitch about it. That exists.
That's May. That's May.
There you
May
go.
is that
That's
exact
May.
one.
Yes, that is May for
and it's her
sure.
daughter. So, I mean, she learned it from someone.
Margot mentions that the Turins have been hired to kill another monster, marrow eels, and which these massive monster eels that have been interrupting her father's trade via ships, because the only way to get to Quintus is through this massive sea where all of the marrow eels live. Odessa again thinks of the Guardian, saying he was, quote, a man rumored to be more vicious and deadly than any creature crafted by the gods. Interesting. And sexier.
Yes, much sexier.
Well, Margot leaves her to finish taming her wild curls, because this is something they've done time and time again.
Leave them curls alone, girl. Let them fly.
Leave your curls alone.
I like
Leave
playing
your
with
red
'em.
hair alone.
Leave my red curls alone. Well, Odessa joins her family in the throne room, and there are 5 Turins there as well. Hello, Turins. They aren't dressed in finery. They're dressed as warriors, complete with weapons. This is not a very wedding celebratory kind of look, I think. They missed the memo, but this feels on brand for them. And the king thanks them for their service in killing the marrow eels and brings in a giant chest full of coins as payment. Odessa realizes that the crown prince, Xavier Wolf, is among them, which is her sister May's husband-to-be. She also lets us know here that Prince Xavier doesn't speak, or so we think. A warrior speaks for him and says that the price that they agreed upon is actually no longer enough. Let me tell you, when they were going back and forth in this whole thing that he was not going to speak, I kind of loved it. I was like, oh my God, yes, we're just never going to hear this guy speak. I don't know why I was into it, but I was into it.
So you didn't think, because I immediately was like, oh, it's the other dude, because the other dude is the sexy dude, so obviously it's the other dude. So I was like, oh, because he's talking, that means he's the ones that's truly marrying her. So that's what I was immediately thinking.
No.
But that wasn't you at all?
I did not think that right away. No, I didn't. No, I did not guess the giant plot twist that they used his blood and actually she was married to the other guy. I did not get that at all. No. But I thought back to like other books that we've had mute MMCs and they were super hot. And so I didn't think anything of it because
Oh, see, I had not read that one until after this one. So that if I probably had read the other one before this one, maybe I would have had it in my head. But I was like, that guy's sexy. So I don't know how it's him, but it's definitely going to be him and
it's
not
going to be
dude.
this one. Yeah. Well, because I was already past. I was like, oh, well, Banner is in the past. So I already passed the first guy. So like, oh, well, this is the new guy. But anyway, it don't matter. But I was like, oh, cool. He doesn't talk. I liked it as a piece of the plot is what I should say.
You're like,
it was interesting.
Good. A silent man.
Silent
My favorite.
man. Amen. I talk enough for the both of us. All right. So anyway, so they share that the price that they agreed upon is no longer enough. But we, of course, know that the warrior who is speaking for him is, as Katharine said, the actual prince. His name is Ransom / the Guardian. And he is going to be the mouthpiece for the fake Prince Xavier in this whole interaction.
That's right. One of the creepy Voster priests enters the room, and it says that he seems to float above the ground rather than walking. Again, a little creepy. And Odessa again says that his magic doesn't seem to have the same effect on everyone else as it does on her. Another man enters the room, and the quote, "The man who entered next didn't look like God incarnate. He didn't appear to be a ghost. He was tall and broad like the other Turins, muscled to the point of distraction. His chocolate brown hair tickled the tops of his shoulders, and his chiseled jaw was covered in short beard of the same shade. At first glance, he was just a man, striking, intimidating, but still just a man. Yet his irises did not have the typical Turin green starburst. They were solid, molten silver, liquid metal, colorless like my dress, the Guardian." Like that quote didn't give it away, Kelly, that this was going to be our MMC.
Well, no. Okay.
She's like, he doesn't talk, but he is muscled to the point of distraction.
Okay. I should fix this. I knew he was going to be the MMC. I didn't think that he was going to be actually the one that she was married to, and that he was actually the prince. Like that's
you thought he was going to be married to the prince and like have like a thing.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like
guy.
A political marriage, and I thought he was going to be the love interest, but I didn't guess that it was going to be that swap.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
The whole time.
That's fair. The priest decides that introductions are in order, and the king introduces May as the Sparrow. The Guardian, speaking for the prince, demands that so crazy, he's making these demands. He will not marry May. He will marry Odessa tonight.
Right now. All right, well, it's theory time, folks, because there is evidence that the Guardian can hear Odessa's thoughts. And it starts in this chapter and continues into the next, that she thinks something in her head, and he will then smirk. And it will continue to happen throughout the entire book. So we're going to continue to point it out as we go, because there's something brewing here. We have some quotes. Quote, "At any moment, I expect to see him yawn." And quote, "His eyes crinkled at the sides as he smirked. She is upset that she is being traded like coffer or coin." And quote, "Gone was his laughter." And then she says, "May and I shared a stubborn streak." And then says, "The corner of the Guardian's mouth turned up." He can hear her thoughts, and he is enjoying this little show in her head.
Yeah, yep. I think it might have to do, maybe a monster can communicate telepathically, and so it comes from that. But they're throughout the whole book. I can't wait to point them out, because on my reread was looking really hard for these, and I kept finding them over and over and over and over. It's really interesting.
You are right, but it's so strange how at the very end he says point blank. And so to your point, he's doing this repeatedly, and then he says point blank, "I can't read your mind." And I'm like, but you are. Do you not realize you can do it? Are you lying?
Or he doth protest too much.
Yeah. But like, why lie about it? I'm like, we're in the feel zone here. We're in the mutual loving zone here, even if we haven't said it out loud. Like, why are you lying? Why are you doing it?
I don't know. I think that it might be something that she has to think it specifically for him to be able to. I think he hears her thoughts. I don't think he can like read her deeper than that. I don't know. Well,
Like it
I don't
has to be directed to him.
know. I don't know because
Projected.
these weren't
Mhm.
directed to him. So we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll see if I
Yeah.
can figure out what exactly my feeling is. But
Okay.
pins.
Odessa is naturally shocked by all of this, right? Banner tries to step in and lay claim to Odessa as his fiance, but the Turns pay him absolutely no mind. They're like, whatever,
Bye,
dude.
boy, bye.
I also laugh whenever I read Banner because as a Southerner, I tend to say the Banner and Bookmarks podcast, even though we're the Banter and Bookmarks podcast.
Banner
so
bookmarks.
the fact that his name is Banner really speaks to me. I just want y'all to know that. Mhm.
Banner.
Like, Katharine, where do we live? Atlanta. We don't live in
Oh,
Atlanta.
yeah.
We live
Yes.
in Atlanta, and we're
It's true.
the Banner and Bookmarks podcast.
You do, but as a New Yorker, I grew up saying Atlanta. I didn't put any T's in it, so it's not just a
Good.
Southern
There's
thing.
not one
Good.
there.
No, there isn't
Yeah.
one. Exactly.
How do you know somebody's not from Atlanta? They say Atlanta, like Atlanta.
You were a
Atlanta.
tourist,
Atlanta.
my friend.
Atlanta.
Anyways, Odessa also makes the connection that Banner isn't doing this because he's being romantic. He
Nope.
knows that if he loses Odessa, he basically loses his political link to the royal family.
Yep. That's all he cares
What a
about.
butthole.
Pretty much. Odessa looks at the Guardian and notices that his eyes seem to change color. She says, quote, "It wasn't the same silver as it had been a moment ago. His eyes darkened, silver bleeding away to gray and brown and green, a hazel as hard as stone." So we will talk more about eyes in the next chapter. So let's put a pin in this one.
I do love that his eyes will basically be a mood ring this entire book. Well, the king starts off by being on Odessa's side, or at least on the side of wanting May to remain the sparrow. He says, quote, "The Shield of Sparrows treaty stipulates a daughter of the king's choosing. As I am the only king in this room, the choice is mine." Well, the Turans definitely thought and planned ahead because they decide they will enact a different type of treaty, the Chain of Sevens.
Seven.
That's my favorite number.
Seven.
7.
You're a psychopath.
Can I tell everybody why real quick? It's because of the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which I literally don't remember anything about that movie except the very first scene. He's like really old and he's in a church and they ask him how old he is and he goes, 7, but I look a lot older. And every time I say the number 7, that's what I say. 7.
I also really appreciate the very old South accent that you just did there.
He does.
I look a lot older.
I look a lot older.
So
We live in Savannah.
we live in Savannah.
Okay, back to Shield of Sparrows.
That was actually perfect. Thank you, because my head was hurting from my hair clip, and it gave me the perfect amount of time to take it down.
Gracias. Gracias.
Oh,
Perfect.
that feels better.
Okay.
My head.
Meant to be.
Yes.
There you go. Another Voster priest is present, and it is revealed that he is the high priest from upon high. Whatever the hell that means. He's the head honcho priest dude. He says that he himself sealed the Chain of Sevens, and it must be obeyed.
So
And the
he's
chain-
old as crap. He's old.
Old AF.
Yeah.
Or are they like Dumbledore, and he's like 150, and you really wouldn't even know it?
Well, if he sealed the Chain of
Yeah,
Sevens, the
he's
Chain
gotta
of
be
Sevens
old.
has been like centuries and centuries of.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
thought
saying.
he had sealed this Chain of
No,
Sevens.
he sealed-
since
the
he-
OG.
The original. So he's like, oh no, the magic holds because it was my magic that
Yeah.
sealed it.
Yep.
So he's old.
Back in the day. Old AF.
He is getting creepier by the minute.
See? All right. I'm slowly pulling everybody in. Creepy.
I will admit that's a little bit not cool.
Not very nice.
And just like in the gallery, Odessa feels this Voster's magic as well. So she feels all of their magic all of the time. And the high priest confirms that Odessa, she's stuck. She has to wed Prince Xavier. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. And the Turins leave the throne room. The king dismisses everyone except his family members. And we get a bit more information here about the king, that the people call him the Gold King. He does not have a name. And he brought incredible wealth to the kingdom. His father is the one who spent all their wealth on women and parties, and he just lived it up. And that's why they lived in a plated gold castle. So ain't no money left, but at least everything's gold.
Yay!
I feel like this is very much going to be, because obviously we know that the king knows everything. And so, yes, he's made a lot of money, but like, what has he given up for his people in order for that wealth? I feel like that is going to come into play later on.
I got questions about him.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about eyes. I told you to put a pin in it about 5 minutes ago. We learn that, quote, the magic rooted deep in Calandra's land tinged our irises at birth with those starbursts, linking us forever to a place. No matter where we lived, where we moved, that one color was unchanging. Every Quentin had an amber starburst. Every Quentin except me. My eyes were solid gold, not a starburst in sight. So out of the 5 kingdoms, whatever of the 5 kingdoms you are born in, that is what color your starburst will be. She asked her father several times why as a child, and he always dismissed her. We do know that she has also pointed out that the Guardian's eyes change color, Katharine said, like a mood ring, but we all know that that is because he is infected with Lissa at the end. So Odessa doesn't have a starburst. So what do we make of that? I am assuming it's because she wasn't born on Calandra. She wasn't born in this land. So one of my big questions with this book is if she is a Crux somehow or related to the Crux somehow, as her red hair suggests, was she born wherever they are from? That's what I think.
Yeah. It's interesting. I also want to point out too, because I think they said that his eyes, the Guardian's eyes, were silver and then they change colors. I just think it's interesting that hers are solid gold and his are solid silver. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was something interesting about that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like meant to be a little bit. I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out. Who knows? Daphne Perry knows. Yeah.
Well, I would hope the author does have a thought as to why.
I don't know. Maybe she knows. Maybe she will never tell me.
Maybe her head is full of all of the secrets and she's going to put them in another book.
I hope so. Please, I will read that book.
Although I do want us to remember, and I cannot, forgive me, we also find out that Odessa is the oldest daughter. So it is a bit odd that she was not chosen as the sparrow. And the king kind of questions why they chose her, like what she had been doing all day. We get a quote, "Father didn't understand my interest in the migrations. He also didn't realize today hadn't been about the art or monsters. That gallery was simply the easiest way for me to sneak in unnoticed." So it's interesting. He didn't want her in that gallery. And it's kind of interesting. Of all the places she chose to sneak in unnoticed, it was the gallery. Her father admits that he had set this whole meeting up to try to marry May off earlier than was originally planned to the Turins, but clearly it's backfired on him. And the king tells Odessa that she's going to have to marry the prince, and she's going to now have to act as a spy. Completely untrained to do so, but she has to take up the mantle of what May was supposed to do and just figure it out. So she's going to infiltrate their hidden capital city of Alisaria because apparently there's something there that the king believes is a key to this season's Crux migration. She's given no information, but she's going to have to figure it out herself. And just something to note, the previous capital of Tura was a city called Paris. It was completely decimated by the Crux 3 generations ago. So they moved the capital, but when they moved it, they also hid it.
Yeah. And the king does at least tell her that she can take her ladies' maids, Brielle and Jocelyn, with her. And then once she knows something about Alisaria, that she can send them, one of them at least, back with information. I don't know about that. I don't trust them either. And you're going to kill the Guardian. Okay. Are you like, Seriously, he has powers that no one
Yeah.
knows the extent of, and he is way too dangerous. And he has done all these crazy things. People are afraid of him, but you are now going to kill him. Great.
It sounds simple.
Perfect.
Easy.
The king, yeah, why not? And the king dismisses them and says, all right, go get ready for that wedding. That's, remember, happening tonight, right now.
Right
Going to
now.
get married. Bye.
Easy
That's
peasy.
right. So Odessa is getting primped by Margot and Brielle, while Jocelyn is off collecting contraceptive tea for them to take on the journey. So we're just going to cut that storyline in the bud right there. Margot packs 3 jars of Odessa's hair dye into one of her 3 trunks. They are trying to find her a blue dress for the wedding, but all they can find is gray. So again, Margot's trying is like, why are you dressing her like this? Odessa questions, did she not know that I only had gray dresses? Like, isn't it Margot that bought all my gray dresses? Like, what's happening? Margot attempts to give Odessa the sex talk, but she says, I'm no virgin, stepmommy. We're good. But she also notes that she hasn't slept with Banner. He has a lover in the city that she knows about. The person that she had slept with was a stable boy when she was 15. So no big deal. Also, the foreshadowing here, we do find out that this lover is Brielle. So as we're covering, let's think about Brielle's actions so that we know that she's going to bring that information back to Banner.
I didn't pick this one up. I thought it was Jocelyn all the way, just because she was the conniving one. So Brielle just skirted under there for me.
Yep.
Margot leaves her, and Odessa opens up a loose floorboard in her room, and she reveals a leather drawing journal and a necklace. The necklace is very, very important, so let's focus on it. She found it 13 years ago, so when she was around 10 years old. It's on this delicate chain, and quote, a wing of silver was inlaid in a circle of gold, except it wasn't gold. The hue was actually red and orange and as bright as a harvest moon. It was a symbol I'd never seen before. I'd scoured books in the library. I'd drawn it out and taken it to the docks to see if anyone recognized the design. But after all these years, it remained a mystery. The moment the pendant rested against my skin, it warmed. So let's have another theory time. What do we make of this necklace? Is it there for protection? Or, oh, beautiful, a famous
We have
Lindsey drawing of that. It's exactly what it is. A silver wing, which, Kelly, to your point, it's very interesting. Silver is in his eyes. She said it's gold, but it wasn't. Gold to represent her eyes, but it wasn't. It was red. Red like the freaking crux, and her hair, and all of these colors seem very, very foreshadowing and very, very important. And
Very, very big.
Very big.
Very important.
So, is it this pendant, perhaps, that is going to be drawing all of these monsters to her, right? She normally does not wear this thing. She only takes it with her and starts wearing it permanently on this journey. So maybe, is it not her? Maybe it's this pendant. Is this the mark of her being the red bird girl?
Yeah,
I go back and forth of whether the necklace is providing protection for her or if it's drawing the monsters to her. And I honestly,
A little bit
at
of
this
A, a little bit
point
of B.
in multiple reads, I haven't quite decided yet.
I would
Maybe
agree
as we
with you.
talk about it more, maybe it'll help me decide.
Yeah. I mean, it to me, it's definitely, I think, obvious to us that we think it's a symbol of her heritage. But to your point, I can't tell. Can't tell.
My only reason why I think it probably is the necklace is because there are still monsters in Quintus. Like, they still
You think
exist.
it's a protection necklace, or you think it's
No, I
drawing them?
think it's drawing them because
Oh,
there
okay.
are monsters in Quintus, right? But she's never been attacked by monsters. It only started on this journey. So for me, it seems like, well, what was the thing that changed? And it was that she started wearing the necklace at all times, because otherwise I would have expected she would have been hunted her entire life.
Yeah. Well, but also remember, it's not monsters in general that are attracted to her. It's monsters with Lysa.
But it's also
And there's-
monsters. Like, it's both of them being attracted to her, though, throughout, like, the book. Like, the very first attack, I think, wasn't a monster with Lysa. Not the first one, obviously. That's the
That's the
marrow
marrow
eel.
eel,
The
yeah.
one after was the bear thing. Whatever the bear thing is. I can't remember what the bear thing was called.
Bear wolf.
Bear wolf.
I want to
No,
say
the grizzer.
Grizzer.
Oh,
Grizzer. That
Grizzer.
was it. And I want to say that Grizzer didn't have Lissa. So I'm thinking it's not just the Lissa monsters. But I mean, now that we do the reread, I'll pay attention. Maybe it did end up being all monsters with Lissa.
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to keep rereading.
Well, I read it again and I still don't remember because it's like,
no,
well,
same. I'm like, I don't know.
I didn't pay attention to that point. Damn it.
Nope.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I'm pretty sure it's Lysa, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall uncover it together.
Well, May has been in her room next door and she's throwing a frickin' temper tantrum obviously she had planned for this like almost her whole life. This was supposed to be hers and she was ready for it. But now she comes to say goodbye to Odessa and she warns her about the life that she's about to step into. Remember that May has really been trained for this forever and she knew all of the things that the king had planned. So it's not just that she was trained to be a spy or trained to be like strong and ready for this next part of her life. She was trained for the sneaky shit that the king wanted to do.
Do you think, though, that she actually knew, like, the secrets of the king? Like, she was trained to be the spy, but do you think he let her in on the secrets? And I always wonder that because I'm like, why? If I feel like she can't, because then I feel like you should have told Odessa those exact same secrets so the girl would have something to look for.
No, I think she knew exactly what the king needed her to know. And I think she thought that she knew everything, but she didn't. I think the king has bigger secrets. Well, we know the king has bigger secrets, and I don't think she knew everything.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And we find out too that she has a younger brother. His name is Arthi. What a name. Quote, Margot had struggled to conceive after May was born. She had 3 stillborn babies in that time, but finally, this is hard for me in my accent, before father had found himself a new wife to give him a male heir, Margot had given birth to Arthelaus. That's interesting. Arthelaus. That's interesting to me that literally they said, he was about to find himself a new wife. So
not a lot of love there.
Not a lot of love. That makes me lean towards you, Lindsey, with Margot is actually trying to protect her. And it's not, I don't think they are in love in the way that I left.
Exactly.
I fucked over my queen to marry her husband for love.
It was like a plot they conceived together.
Yep.
The former Colleen and Margot.
But do we think that Arthi was conceived with magic? What do we think about this potential theory? How did all of a sudden this happen right when he was about to say, oh, well, I'm going to go find myself a new queen, regent, new wife?
I think so. I think that there's no other reason to point it out if not for shenanigans.
Shenanigans are afoot. Oh, God. The king, who I have so many questions about, then comes in and uses a small knife and captures Odessa's blood in a small vial. And that is the blood that she will use to sign the treaty with in the next chapter. Important here that it is blood going into a vial. You are not seeing the cut and the blood being used because, as we know, that's how some trickiness happened with the signing of the treaty and how she's actually married to the Guardian.
They make their way to the sanctuary for the wedding. The Turns enter with both Xavier and the Guardian there.
So let's go back to this mind reading theory that we have. She is thinking that May isn't the hugging type, and the corner of the Guardian's mouth turns up. Later, she's thinking, why claim a bride prize if you didn't want anything to do with said bride? And a low chuckle fills the room. And she says her plan is to ditch the dress and sneak out of the castle. And again, a low chuckle from him makes her stop. I mean, is she like me? I'm very emotive with my face. You know what I'm thinking, or it's a little bit too on the nose. It's just
it's a little
why
bit too
chuckle?
good.
It's too good.
Either she doesn't realize that she's mumbling things under her breath and he can hear her, or he's reading her mind, and I think he's reading her mind.
That actually would have been way funnier if she literally
I know.
didn't realize she was mumbling under
She just
her
says
breath.
shit out loud, and you're like, you've been saying this out loud the whole book.
Well, there is one instance later on that she says, I didn't think I said that out loud. And
Yes.
he responds to it, but then they're with the King Ramsay, and King Ramsay doesn't respond to it. So the fact that he does and the king doesn't that's the one that I was like,
Yep. Xavier and Odessa are brought onto a platform, and they begin to read the Shield of Sparrows. It is mostly trade obligations, stipulations of peace, and the laws that bound husband to wife. Quote, this is important, quote, a king cannot kill his sparrow, and a sparrow cannot kill her king, either directly or indirectly, without death befalling them both. Important. So they make their vows, and the high priest says, quote, Xavier Wolf, do you vow to uphold the Shield of Sparrows with your union to Odessa Cross, Princess of Quentis and future Queen of Tura? And the guardian says, I speak on the prince's behalf. Xavier Wolf makes this vow. Given his identity that we find out, let's take a look at that wording. He is speaking the words and using his given name, ensuring that their marriage is valid. He is speaking on the prince's behalf because he is the frickin' prince. Interesting. Well, the high priest then seals the vow with his magic, and then they both sign in blood. Also, keep in mind that the high priest does know his true identity as well. And he knows that the blood that the treaty was signed with is actually green. And it's because the guardian is infected with Lissa. The guardian tells her that they will sail at dawn. She gets 0 time. They're like, we're married, cool. Let's hightail it out of here. Bye.
And she does. She hightails her way down to the docks and starts to wander around as she waits for everyone to show up, basically. She decides she wants to go look at the 7 marrow eels and note that these marrow eels have red blood. So these marrow eels are not infected with Lissa. Okay. The guardian is there and she notes that, quote, his movements were too fluid, too graceful to be entirely human. He walked with the same effortlessness as the Voster. Was he linked to the Brotherhood? Was that the source of his power, their magic? So obviously we know that's not the source of his power, but I do think it's interesting that she's linking them with the Voster because there is obviously some sort of link there. And I think that might come more into play later. Odessa feels his power, and she says nothing feels his power, nothing that it feels.
I think it's noting that it feels like a simmering rage.
Okay, thank you. Odessa feels his power, noting that it feels like a simmering rage. They exchange words, and then he tells her that they are late to board the boat. What's with her being late again?
Always.
Always.
Girl, I got you. I get it.
Well, Odessa is afraid her family's not going to show up, but they do. They come to the docks and say goodbye. But Odessa is upset that Margot did not bring the baby brother. She's never going to see her baby brother, presumably again. At least that's what she's thinking right now. May admits to Odessa that she knows exactly what the king is planning, and that as the one trained to be the sparrow, she had been trained for this mission. Now, theory watch here. Quote, there was no way he could have overheard us from that far away, but the way he sneered, he being the guardian, the way his jaw clenched made me wonder if he'd heard every word I said. Gods, was that one of his powers? And then in this kind of moment of weakness, the king says to Odessa, quote, I never should have allowed Margot to dye your hair. The red was your mother's. So now we know mother's red hair, dad allowed it to be dyed. And I kind of agree with you guys. Like, I think the king knows why, because it just seems insane. He wouldn't know why. He wouldn't, especially if their daughter was not born on the actual continent. How could he not know, you know?
Yeah, I think the way that this is worded, I never should have allowed Margot. I think that you're supposed to think that Margot is doing it so that she's not reminded of the first queen. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that that's a bit of a red herring that in reality Margot has other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Personally.
Yeah. Odessa walks up the gangplank and joins Brielle and Jocelyn on the deck. They're upset that they're leaving their home, and Odessa feels guilty about it. We know why you're upset, Brielle, you little jerk. Prince, yeah, I don't know, whatever. I have feelings. We'll talk about that later. Prince Xavier later then joins Odessa on the deck, and surprise, he can talk. He says, just because I don't talk doesn't mean I can't. I kind of love a man who's like, you know what? I'm only going to talk when I need to. I'm going to shut up the rest of the time.
I mean,
Yep.
it's very smart politically for them to do that because then the cousin isn't making political decisions.
Right.
Yes.
So it's very genius on their
It is.
behalf.
It's perfect.
I did feel bad for Odessa. She's not in on this. And so his silence really hurt her because she does think this is the man she's married to. So just constantly being met with silence, he would go off for like a week and nobody would tell her he had left. I felt for her. Like this silence, even though there's a political reason behind it, it does hurt her for a lot of the book.
Well,
But
they
he
talk,
just
though.
told, he talks the whole time
No,
after
I get
this.
they talk, but they don't like have long, drawn out conversations, is what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
they
there'll
do.
be
They go
time.
on like whole walks together.
The Guardian and her, yes, but I mean,
No,
a lot of
and him.
And
Yeah,
him.
And Dre, too.
Yeah.
I just, in the second read of it, I would note just how many times she'd be like, he left with the Guardian, nobody told her. And it's like a failure, maybe not to talk, but a failure to over-communicate
Oh,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying
different.
more.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's different.
That's what I'm trying to convey, is that he just wouldn't communicate. And I think that kind of silence
And
is
yet
what
neither of
really
them
hurt.
did.
Yeah, and that really
Yeah.
hurt her.
He calls her Odessa Wolf, and she hands him her crown and walks away and thinks she hears him chuck it into the sea. We know that she doesn't actually hear that because she does get it back later in Trio, but she was like, here you go, feed a whole village with this shit. And
I'm done.
bye. I'm done.
There are 3 ships sailing with them: the cutter, the cannon, and the cleaver. Someone breaks into their room in the middle of the night and leaves a pile of clothing, including boots and pants.
So rude.
What a good thief. Not even the opposite of a thief. I'm gonna breaking and entering
give you presents,
to give you gifts.
Yes. Odessa puts on her necklace for the first time and notes that a warm weight settles over her. That either feels like a protection weight or a come get me monsters weight.
Right.
For sure.
Yep.
And then the Guardian joins her and admits that he is the only one, that he admits that he is the one that has left her the clothes. Again, our theory watch here, there's a multiple times in this conversation where she thinks that he annoys her and he smirks.
He smirks a lot in this book.
He does. He's a big smirker. Yep.
Yeah.
And then he jumps overboard. And then, but Prince Xavier is there and he takes his place beside Odessa and points out that the Guardian is already standing on the other ship. He has jumped over and swam to the other one. And Odessa thinks no mortal man could swim that fast. I wonder if he got that power from the marrow eels.
I think so.
So interesting you note that. Although she is wrong, he is very mortal. He is dying of Lissa, so very strong, but definitely not immortal. Well, fake Xavier and Odessa have a pleasant conversation, but it's really kind of awkward. She admits that she's never left Quentis, and he tells her that the journey is going to take about 8 to 9 days of really rough seas. And Xavier tells Odessa not to worry about the marrow eels. Wrong. That they actually baited for them, admitting that he wanted to use them to marry Odessa, but he doesn't tell her the reason why they did that. So let's make note of this, since what happens in the next chapter, they're attacked by a very giant marrow eel who's infected with Lissa. And Odessa asks fake Xavier why he doesn't speak. I'm just going to call him Fake Xavier. And he says, quote, because the leaders see it as a weakness they can exploit. It usually means they fill the silence with more than they should, which is actually a very tactfully intelligent reason not to talk. Like,
yeah,
that's not wrong.
No, I am a former high school teacher, and it is called teacher wait time. You stand there and you wait, because eventually the kids will start trying to fill the silence with answers, and then at least you're trying to pull stuff out of them. It is literally proven. So I like that he has teacher wait time. That's what I call it when I read this book.
But also because they told him, shut up, don't talk.
Shut up. Shut up. Just shut up. Don't say anything. Odessa is so bored on the ship. I love this. She's like, well, might as well try on these pants. Got nothing else to do.
Pants.
Let's see what pants are like. Brielle and Jocelyn.
I can see my legs.
Oh my God. They're freaking scandalized. What? Why would you wear pants? Women don't dress this way. But she likes them and they're comfy. Give a girl some pants. And Odessa tells them, hey, listen, most of the women in Tura wear them, so I might as well wear them because I'm going to have to fit in. But they're like,
ooh, pockets.
Pockets? Amazing. And come on, that butt looks good in those pants, girl.
Yep. She wears those pants up to the deck and basically gets into another jabbing match with the Guardian and amidst it, the boat rocks violently. And because they are being attacked by this giant marrow wheel, the Guardian tells her to get below deck, but she ignores him, wanting to help Jocelyn and Brielle. She does this so many times in this book.
Helps other people. That bitch.
Yes. The marrow wheel strikes the ship and Odessa is tossed overboard. That was my toss. Did you like that?
I did like that,
Tossed
yes.
overboard.
I don't think she did it as gracefully as you did.
Probably not. The Guardian yells at her, swim! But she isn't fast enough. She feels the marrow eel brush against her in the water and she absolutely panics. Also, I would absolutely panic. Yeah. And the Guardian throws a harpoon at her and she grabs the rope and he pulls her into safety. And I have this like awesome vision in my head of like Odessa holding onto the harpoon, coming over to the side of the ship, and the marrow wheel is also coming behind her and attacking him, and he just stabs the marrow wheel in the air and then it falls on the deck of the ship.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
They kill the marrow wheel in the process, and the Guardian is pissed at Odessa that she didn't take his order to go below deck. They, of course, get into another power struggle and argue, and Odessa spits, "Thank you for saving my life," and squelches away.
Mad.
I picture Princess Anna when she falls into the water and she just comes out like this with her dress.
Yes, I love that. That is such a good scene to end the episode on, because it's like there's so much info and back and forth and you're like, man, this is going to be great. And their power struggle is going to be great. And here we are squelching away.
Thank you.
Great banter.
As an
Fuck
end.
you. Goodbye.
They do have great banter. It was so tense and so good.
There's a lot of good stuff.
Well, that is a wrap on episode 2 of our coverage of Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Next week, we will be covering chapters 12 through 23.
And be sure to like, follow, rate, and comment on our podcast wherever it is you're listening, and follow us on our social media channels so we can keep finding more unhinged fantasy readers just like you.
We also have a Patreon channel. For only $5 a month, you can now be a book dragon. Our monthly subscription includes a monthly book club, often featuring the book author, early access to episodes, membership to our private Discord channel, merchandise discounts, and always hugs for free. So come join the fun today.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.